welcome to the ice for their pregame warm-up, presented by Scott Credit Union. Yours.
Hockey Fan Report! Aloha and mahalo, I am Guy, the Y Blues fan, and this is the Hockey Fan Report! Wow, interesting games going on right now, but I'm not going to be alone today. No. Ashley's working on some homework. She might pop in later, but I got our buddy, our friend, our pal, our man from up north, the man who knows more about hockey than I have forgotten. No, actually, I said that wrong. He's forgotten more about hockey than I'll ever know. Let's welcome Mr. Richard Campbell.
Hello.
How you doing, Rich?
I'm doing okay.
Long time no see, my friend.
Yes, sir. I've been busy lately, so it's great to be on once again.
Oh, no, man. We love having you. Hey, how did that fight go with the light socket?
Which one?
You know, your hair? You know, it looks like you stuck your finger in the light. I'm sorry, Rich. I had to, man.
No problem.
You know, Rich, if you don't come on, if you expect to come on the show and not have me razz you a little, you're in trouble, right? I mean, I love you to death, but I have razzed you from the beginning. And I'm not going to stop razzing you because I feel like you're that kind of friend that I can do that to. And that's who I am. You know, when I like you and I appreciate you and I respect you, I razz you. That's what the military does, you know. A lot of stuff going on. Now, you reached out to me last week after the trade deadline and say, hey, if you want me to come on and talk about Leddy, I'd be more than glad to do that. So you're a Red Wings fan. And before we get into Leddy, I want to get into what have Walman and Sundqvist meant to the Red Wings?
Well, I was very happy with the return we got for Leddy. I think Sundqvist really solidifies our fourth line, which we needed. He's a brilliant energy to that fourth line, and he establishes us for the next following years to come. So I'm really happy that we managed to get him coming our way. And Warman, I think he's a decent depth defenseman. We can never have too much of those, and maybe in the future we can flip him for a couple of assets. So I'm pretty happy with the return.
So do you think that for you guys that this was an addition or was it a subtraction?
I think it's an addition. Like, we acquired Nick Leddy last offseason, and I had an idea. Come trade deadline, he's probably gone for a first-round pick or a second-round pick. Yeah. So considering that we got a second-round pick, at fourth line, we established it our fourth line at defenseman. We've got more than what I bargained for.
Well, how has Walman done? Has Walman brought anything to... Because Walman was basically a seventh defenseman with us. He's young, and the Blues, Berube, is not very good at developing young talent, unfortunately. So do you think that Walman is going to get a chance to develop in the Red Wing system?
I think if he was going to develop any further, he would have done it already, but this gives him more opportunity to develop into a defenseman. Now, all I see him being is a decent fifth-or-sixth defenseman for most teams. Like John Murray played for Detroit a couple of seasons ago, and I see a lot of similarities between those two, which I don't mind at all. Like, that's what I'm expecting. So,
now for the Blues, I felt that this was a subtraction by addition. I felt that we were giving away more than we were getting back. Reason for that being, Walman was a solid seventh defenseman. He could play on the bottom pairing. He could play on the middle pairing if he needed him to. You had Mikkola, who, just got a day off, and he probably needed it because he's played more games than he's ever played. But Walman got an entire season last season when Mikkola sat in the press box or in the bench and didn't get any time. So I'm really excited for what we've seen through for Mikkola. But Walman, to me, was still a good part of that. And then Sundqvist, to me, you're taking a big drop in your penalty kill, right? I mean, here you have like the 7th, 8th, 9th best penalty kill, a top 10 penalty kill, and you're giving away one of your top penalty killers. Is that you making all that noise, or is that me? I'm hearing a bunch of like screeching, crunching stuff. Is that you, or?
Yeah, don't you back up for a minute
Okay.
and you can start again.
Yeah, that's coming from you. Okay, yeah, he'll be right back. Ah, man, how you guys doing tonight? Rich will be back. Like I was saying, and I'm still, I know that he got a goal. He's got a goal and assist since he's been here, and he has, looks like he's starting to help out with some of the outlet passes and some of that stuff. But I still think that the loss of Sundqvist was more than what we gained with Leddy. Hopefully we'll get Richard back here in a little bit. I'm right now watching the Minnesota Wild and the Pittsburgh Penguins. They are tied at 1. The Wild they got a lucky goal a little while ago, a power play goal that just went over the line. I mean, it just went over the line. And actually, I thought the original view, the way they showed it, I think if they'd have shown it from the top, it might not have gone over the line. But they didn't show that view. Sometimes you need to look at that one. Close one in Boston. No, I think Boston is beating the Devils 8-1. That is just a butt whipping from here to eternity. Better?
That's much better.
Yeah, that's much better. Yeah, it sounded like somebody was crackling like a candy wrapper, right? And in the ears, man, that's hard to hear on the ears, especially I'm partially deaf. So for me, that high pitch sound, that's like sticking a hot poker in your ear, So what I was getting at before we had to go away was I feel like for the Blues, this was subtraction by addition. I think we gave up more than we got in getting Leddy, right? Now I have a jet flying over me. Yay, me. Actually, I think that's one of the F-22s, so might get another one coming behind it. Maybe not. Maybe, I don't know. So to me, it just, what you gave up a humongous penalty killer and energy guy in Sundqvist, and I'm guessing that you guys are already seeing what he brings to the penalty kill and to the team as a whole, the energy and the toughness that he brings.
Like, he brings a different energy that I wasn't seen before on a fourth line. He brings a little bit of speed. He's a hard penalty killer, as you said, and he's actually been scoring quite a few goals for us so far. So I've been happy with what I've been seeing.
Well, that's because he's given the opportunity now, right? He's not playing. He's probably playing what, third line, second line?
I believe he's on the third line as of late.
Yeah, so he went from the fourth line to the third line. He went up a little bit, and that helps him out. Brian here says, I think Nick Leddy is a good fit for the Blues, but also gave up too much to get him. I really do. I mean, the minor league guy we got is 31 years old, so I don't think that I don't even know his name, to be honest with you, and that's how bad it is, because I don't think he'll ever put a Blue Note on. I don't think he'll ever see the Blues, right? To me, that's a nothing trade. You get a minor leaguer that helps. That what that does is it helps the Thunderbirds, because they are pushing for a cup, right? And what is that? It's the Turner Cup in the AHL, right?
I honestly can't remember something.
I think they call it. I think they call it the Turner Cup, right? Let's go over to the out of town scoreboard real quick, because there's a lot of games that affect the Blues in the Central Division. One that doesn't is the Bruins are dismantling the Devils 8-1. The only one from the Devils has done anything is Jack Hughes. And actually, I think they're going to start calling the New Jersey Devils the New Jersey Hughes starting next season. The Maple Leafs are up 5-3 on the Jets. Now, that has some implications for the Central Division with 15:24 to go in the third. For the Jets, you have Wheeler, Stastny, and Ehlers that have scored. And for Toronto, you have Giordano, Nyquist, Tavares, Nylander with a second, and Mikheyev. I think that's how you say it. Mikheyev? Mikheyev?
Mikheyev.
Mikheyev. Okay, that's close. That's close. Panthers are shutting out the Blackhawks on Jonathan Tay's night, his 1,000th game. Windy is probably all crying in his beer. Islanders have doubled up the Blue Jackets 4-2. The Hurricanes are socking it to the Canadiens 3-0. And the Penguins are now up 2-1 on the Minnesota Wild in a game that has huge playoff implications in the Central. Just starting is the Sharks and Avalanche are blank with 16:24 to go in the third, and with 17:42, the Flames and the Kings have not put anything in the net. Hey, I think I did that pretty good. So let's get into the playoffs. I know you're just a hockey fan. You're not just, I mean, I know you call yourself you're a Redwing, but you love the game of hockey, period. So you've got a little bit more for this. What do you think? Now in the East, that's set, right? Who's your top three teams in the East that are gonna make it to the Western Conference Final? Who are the top three teams that have our Eastern Conference Final, have the best chance of making it to the Eastern Conference Final, and why?
Well, Florida has to be number one. For topping the league behind Colorado, and they have depth all over the place. Like, even Ekblad is out with injury, and by the way they've been playing, it doesn't affect them at all, losing a top 5 defenseman this season out of the lineup. Tampa Bay, like, they made I was expecting a disappointment playoff run before the trade deadline, but they acquired Hagel from Chicago and Paul from Ottawa, which boosted that depth that they missed since last year's playoffs. So I think they rejuvenate, and I think they could potentially upset Florida, as it's hard to discount a back-to-back Stanley Cup champion.
Yeah.
And to head over into the Metro, Carolina, if they do not face Boston seems to always beat them in the playoffs. So if they meet in the playoffs, it's going to be very tough to see them make it. But Carolina has this stiff defense core. That defense can step for any team's offense, and we've seen a few times whenever they play Florida. So if they play the boom matchups, they'll get far.
I actually don't. For me, I look at I know what you're saying about Carolina and Boston, but I actually see Boston in the playoffs not doing much because they're not in a. They're in a fight to try and get into that third spot, and I think it's going to take a lot out of them. Not only that, they've also got they're trying not to end up playing Florida in that first round, so they're also in a fight with the Capitals. So for me, I'm at Carolina. I would go, my 1, 2, 3 would be, number 1 would be Florida, 2 Carolina, and 3 Tampa Bay in the East. Right. I don't think anybody else in the East has a legitimate chance of making it to the finals. I really don't. I just think that those 3 teams are so much better than everybody else. And I also think that the East is a tale of two sides, right? Tale of 2 groups. You have the top of the group, you have your top 8, you have your bottom 8. They are 2 different styles of teams. Right? There's no intermingling in there. There's no, you have your good, your middle, and your bad. You have your good, you have your bad, there's no middle. Right? And that's how I see the East. And because of that, you're going to see a lot of that first round battle. Like, I did an article not long ago, where I ranked the top 10. And one of the things that I had said was that these teams are going to beat each other up. Right? That and like Pittsburgh, and I put Pittsburgh and the Rangers at the bottom because I think they're going to beat each other up, and whoever wins is going to have the next round is going to be a massive game against Carolina, right? I just think that the way that those are playing, because they know they're in, but it's positioning that they need, right? Hey, Ashley, how you doing?
Hey,
sorry I haven't acknowledged you since you
you're
popped
fine.
in.
I'm sorry I was late. I kind of agree with you, but I would actually think that the Maple Leafs could swap with the Lightning because they're only a point away from each other, and Austin Matthews has been playing out of his mind.
The problem with the Leafs, and I have to stick with this, is this playoff curse that they have under them right now. They cannot get out of the first round, and I look at that team, and I don't see a team that tells me that they have the guys that can get out of the first round, especially if they're playing Tampa in the first round.
I mean, it really will depend on who they're playing in the first round. However, I think that Tampa Bay has gotten a little too cocky from obviously winning the last 2 Stanley Cups, but they weren't full seasons. So I think that might bite them in the butt. And if they are playing the Leafs could overcome it.
I wouldn't mind.
I just finished watching the Maple Leafs play the Jets, and the number one weakness is for goaltending. I think that's why I don't have them ahead of Tampa. Like, Toronto is playing terrific up there, except for the goaltending. 3 goals on 9 shots, that just cannot happen, especially against a team like Tampa.
Right. I want to bring in Brian, our buddy Brian Shioff, and I hope I said Shaloff. I hope I just said your last name. Says Luke Witkowski isn't a bad depth player. He can play defensively and physically, and a good agitator. Also can play forward as well as defenseman. Problem is, he's not better than anybody currently on the Blues, right? He's not better than any player currently, any defenseman currently on the Blues, and I just don't see him ever cracking that unless there's an injury. And even if there's an injury, because it's in that point of the season, it's really hard to bring him up. Right, because I see Springfield. I really see the Thunderbirds having a deep playoff run. Right, the Blues aren't getting credit for the deepness or the depth of their minor league team, but they have a very deep, solid minor league team that can go places. They have young guys on there. They have depth guys on there. They have experience on that team. And not only that, look at what you took off of that team. You took Nathan Walker off of that team. Nathan Walker is scoring almost half a goal a game. Almost a goal every other game when he gets called up. Down there, he was one of the league leaders in scoring. So Walker is finally coming into his own, right? So for me, I mean, Witkowski was a nothing part of that trade. I don't think Witkowski ever sees the note. I don't think he gets re-signed. I think he at 31, I don't see anybody signing him. And if they do, it's going to be a 2-way deal, which a 31-year-old usually does not like getting that. No, he will not. I'm pretty sure I saw something that said that he was, they were not going to bring him up even after he turned 20. Because of the amount of games he played, right? I could be wrong on that, but I have a feeling that he's not going to come up. I'm glad we didn't let him go. There were a lot of people who thought we should have let Neighbors go. I am so glad we didn't let him go. Right?
Yeah, I think he's still got a lot to show.
Right? Shocky's in Dallas, so hey, Shocky, man, let all the Delta brothers know that I'll be thinking of them all weekend, and I'll try and watch games if I can, but I got you in my hearts, guys. I really do. Hey, I'm on the Guy Bensing account today. I'm just trying it. I'm not going to do it like every day, and I'm not going to use it for the game shows because I think if I do, the more I use it, the more it's going to get kicked off. So I'm going to kind of use it for this and then try and let people know about using the Anthony, friend and Anthony Dingus and going from there. And if you're on YouTube and you don't like me, stop watching me, please. You're not doing me any good, and you're making life worse for yourself. So, and I think that person knows who I'm talking to. Got Tammy here. I wanted to get more into Leddy, right? Richard, as we're paying attention. So tonight we're going to talk about Leddy and what he brings to the Blues. We got Richard, who's watched Leddy for the last couple of years. He's been into Leddy, so he knows Leddy. And then we also got the Jets and Maple Leafs going on. We've got the Wild and Penguins going on. And then we've got the Sharks and Avalanche going on, which are all, and then the Kings and Flames. So they're all kind of games that have implications for us. So I want to kind of I think I heard that he would not report, that they were not going to have him report after he turns 20, that they were just going to wait until next season, that they weren't going to let him go into the playoffs. Right? I could be wrong on that, but that's kind of what I got. So my last name is pronounced like Schloff. Schloff. Okay, it's German. That's why it's spelled. Nothing's like it's pronounced. Yeah, I get it. My last name actually is spelled like it's pronounced, or it's pronounced like it's spelled, but it's German too. So I do get that. Right. So I didn't get you wrong there. Don't go by the past. Remember, the Blues had an awful first round monkey. Every team eventually gets out of it. If the Blues can, the Leafs can. Yeah, but the Leafs first round monkey is a little different. The Leafs first round monkey has a lot more to do with a breakdown in leadership. Right? This isn't just them lose. This last season, when Tavares went down, that team imploded. You don't implode when one guy goes down unless you have a huge issue with leadership. Right? And I'm sorry, that's just, I think you can say that anywhere. You can say that in a company. You can say that for a sports team. You can say that anywhere. Nobody's irreplaceable. If you have one guy go out and you collapse, there's a lack of leadership. There's a leadership issue. And that is why I have a little bit of concern with Toronto and why I think that first round monkey stays there. Am I wrong, Rich?
I don't believe you are. I watched that playoff series and I was pretty 100% Toronto was going to take it. They are clearly the better team back then, and I'm saying that now. But after Tavares went down, it seemed like they didn't want to win anymore. I see it through some playoff series, like most notably Washington Carolina series a few years ago. Washington just didn't seem like they wanted to win, and that's why Carolina won that playoff series. So I saw the same sort of thing.
Well, for Washington, it was the Pittsburgh monkey. They could not get that off their back. Right? As soon as they beat Pittsburgh, it did open them up to win their cup. But this isn't one team here. This is this isn't them facing the same team and having trouble with one team. This is them just not getting out of the first round. And that's why I see the problem being much bigger. Right? And the Blues first round monkey had a lot more to do with it was the teams we were facing. We kept facing teams in the first round. While they weren't the same name team, they were the same style of team, right? We kept facing teams with a hot goalie. We kept facing teams that were much better on the, Pittsburgh just scored. It looked like Crosby was. Ooh, but somebody's down. It's 3-1 Minnesota. I can't see who's down. It was
You mean
Rankle
3-1 Pittsburgh?
Huh?
You mean 3-1 Pittsburgh?
Yeah, what did I say?
You said Minnesota.
Oh, no, 3-1 Pittsburgh. Thank you. I can't see who's down, though. Somebody went down hard. Oh, good breakaway. Oh, it was Crosby opens it up. Oh, wow. God, Crosby's still great. Rankle scores, and then someone's down along the boards, but I can't see it. Crosby had everybody fooled with a great pass. Brian says, as kind of a Blackhawks fan, I've always been a huge Nick Leddy fan. For the reasons I say kind of a fan is because I will still support the team, just hate the controversies and the things that have happened. And that's, that's an issue for Chicago that's not going away anytime soon. Right? That is not going away anytime soon. Thoughts on Taylor Hall sucker punch and only getting a $5,000 fine? George Parros is a freaking idiot. Right? George Parros is an idiot. He needs to be, and I don't want to say fired because no one, he needs to be reassigned, and someone else who is in that They need a Brendan Shanahan type back there, right? And what I say in a Brendan Shanahan type, Brendan Shanahan was one of those guys that had skill, had a lot. You know who they need? And this is going to sound really messed up, but you know who they need is in player safety? And I bet you I'm going to get so much hate on this one. Brad Marchand. Right? Hear me out. Hear me out. Brad Marchand, as dirty of a player he is, he's also a very skilled player. Right? And as a skilled player, I think he would start looking at some of this stuff very differently than the stuff of what he gets credited or charged for. I think him with, I actually think it should be a committee of 3, right? I think you should have a player that had skill and was tough. You should have a enforcer and you should have a skilled player, and those 3 guys should be the head. That committee should be the head, and they should be the ones working with the guys below them as far as how penalties and fines are divvied out.
Well, I don't see that happening anytime soon because I don't think Brad's ready to retire yet.
No. But that's the style of player that you need. Right? I honestly.
Me personally, I don't like a 5K fine either because that's just like losing a coffee for Taylor Hall. 5K is nothing for him. He can spend on little stuff. It doesn't have any impact on him whatsoever.
Yeah, he's saying that Tanner Janot's knee, I think, deserves a fine, only not a suspension, but deserves higher fine than $2,000. The problem with the fines are that in the CBA, they're set, right? They're set in the CBA, and they are not. They're not punishable. They're not punishment fines, right? In any way, shape, or form. And because of that, the fines don't make any sense. It really, and if I was the NHL, I would really work with the NHLPA, and I brought this up last season, to start making fines be a percentage of a player's salary by the set amount, right? Instead of a 5K fine, a 5% fine, a 2% fine, right? This will hit players that make more money harder, right? But it will, at the same time, alleviate some of this issue with how the fine, the amount of the fines, and it will also start to make them, you know what, Bob? I would take that job. I know they say nobody wants it. I would take it. I would absolutely take that job, right? I would take that job. Now, the only problem is I know that I would have a very hard time being unbiased. I know it. I absolutely know I would, because but for me, things in the playoffs would carry a lot more weight than what they do now, right? Like, for example, Kadri's penalty in the first round of last year's playoffs would have been an indefinite suspension. Basically, he wouldn't have come back from the playoff at all. And then he would be suspended going into the regular season until he had more of a until we got a feeling that he understood what he's doing wrong, because he keeps appealing these things, right? He keeps saying, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't do anything wrong. Dude, you're doing something wrong. If you've had three suspensions in 3 straight playoff years, you are doing something wrong, right? You don't get it. I got to make you get it. I really would.
Well, his appeal didn't work, though. He still sat the entire suspension.
Yeah, well, they were going to drop it a game, but then they got knocked out. They were going to drop. I think they were going to drop it to 6, and He got knocked out.
They weren't going to drop it at all.
Okay. I still think fines should happen, but only for more minor things that don't deserve a suspension. but still bad. Yeah, no, I don't have a problem with fines. I just want the fines to mean something.
Yeah,
Fine, I
not
really
just
want the
chump
fines to mean
change.
something. It was 16 for the pens. He went high into the boards, into the splits. Ouch. On his right leg. Yeah, he might be out for a while. Yeah, I would almost agree with you there. Also, Taylor Hall should have had gotten a match penalty for that sucker punch. Yeah, and that's another thing that I think really needs to be worked out with the NHL is officiating, right? I really think that they need that fifth official that's in the stands, right? An official looking down that can basically, I'd like to see an official that at the, intermissions going in and saying, hey guys, these are the things that I seen happening that you're missing. I think you should start paying attention to it. Like an in-game adjust. You know how teams have to adjust? Why shouldn't the referees have to adjust?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And by doing something like that, you have like a supervisor, right? Sitting up above, watching it and saying, okay, guys, this is what I saw. You did a great job, but, watch this, watch that. I saw this player doing this. I saw that player doing that. Keep an eye on it because it could get out of hand, right? I know they don't have enough time. It's only it's a 20-minute period and an 18-minute intermission. So you don't have time to go back and watch everything. So if you had somebody that was already doing that and you came in, he comes down, he sits down with them, talks about it, and that way I think you would see officiating start getting better very, very quickly, especially during games. I think you would see, and you would stop seeing a lot of these third period games where games get out of hand, right? Because the control can be taken much earlier, right? What do you think about that, Rich?
I agree with you. A fifth official to oversee everything that's happening on the ice would be greatly beneficial, as it will limit mistakes, plain and simple.
Yeah, it's not now. He cannot call penalties, right? That is not his job. His job is not to call penalties. His job is to evaluate the game and how the officials are calling it. If there's something being missed, this is the guy that's going to be up above. He's also got a monitor, just like the announcers do, right? And he can see things, and he gets to see the replay. He gets to see things that the guys on ice don't get to see. And there might be, like, for example, boy, she just gets going, don't she?
Oh, absolutely. Gotta love a beagle. And it's still raining, so.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because she knows at night the raccoons are out, the squirrels are out,
Oh, and she wants to chase them.
Yeah. Right. Oh, yeah. She wants to chase them and do a 9-mile leap over a fence.
Yeah.
So you're chasing her, right? But what if you had that guy that could look at that stuff and go in and say, hey, guys, this is what I see, this is what I know, it would actually really help elevate the level. And actually what I'd like to see, like, here's a great example of how to do this. You take some of the retired guys that live in these arenas, and that's their job, right? Like Tim Peel. I love Tim Peel to death. But Tim Peel still wants to be officiating, right? I mean, he's doing the radio, he's doing things like that. What if he was given a chance for all Blues games? You're all Blues home games. You're going to be the director of officiating, and you're going to evaluate the officials on ice. You're going to have a meeting with them at the intermissions. The first intermissions, tell them what you saw, tell them what you didn't. You're going to steadily evaluate them.
You see, I don't think he'd go for that though, because he didn't like the idea of having that extra ref up in the stands.
But see, that was when I brought that up. My thought. See, he helped change my mind on this, right? Because originally I thought this was a guy that could call down non-judgmental penalties, right? Hand passes, high sticks, things that didn't need a judgment, right? Obviously, a trip is a judgment call. A hooking is a judgment call. Those are judgmental. But procedural penalties, he could call them down, right? Now I seen what he was saying there. But now I'm talking about a guy that doesn't call penalties, but he's evaluating and assisting in between periods. So he's really, you remember the game we had where we had all those young officials and they just couldn't call anything right? They would call one penalty that absolutely wasn't a penalty, and then 5 seconds later miss the exact same penalty that really was a penalty, right? This is something that a senior guy could correct on the spot, right? End of the period, he goes down. Okay, guys, look, I know you're nervous. I know you're struggling, but here's what you got to see. You're calling this, and that really, okay, a little ticky-tacky in my eyes, but you absolutely didn't call this when it was the definition. So this is what I want you to start paying attention to. I want you to take control of the game by looking for these type things.
I guess I'm kind of with Bob Morton on here. He says, I don't mind a game where things aren't getting called as long as it goes both ways. Yeah. Also, I don't want to whistle every 2 seconds. No. And I'm kind of with him.
What I'm trying to say here. By the way, Wendy did not go to today's game. He's looking at going to Sunday's game, right? When they give him his stick, give Taze his silver stick. I think what I'm talking about is a guy that is. We always talk about them being held accountable. We're holding them accountable during the game, at the intermissions. This is what I see. This is what you need to pay attention to. Right? You're talking about them having, because right now the supervisor is the lead guy, right? Whoever the senior official is, he's the supervisor. He's the head official. He's the one that's in charge of the officiating crew. I'm talking about having a totally different guy that is now head of the officiating crew. And he's looking at it from a different angle, a different eye, and he can adjust on what's being seen. And really, I think it would help alleviate within a year, you would see NHL officiating go from some of the worst to some of the best. Right? The crew chief. That's what I was trying to get. They call it a crew chief in MLB. And actually, everyone thinks that the crew chief is the umpire. And it's not, because it rotates around. That crew sticks together, and the crew chief will rotate around for 3 or 4 games. Right? So they'll officiate every spot. I think in the playoffs they have 4 officials. In non-playoff games they have 3. I don't know if they have 4 in the playoffs in the playoffs they have 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, because they have 2 officials that are all the way down the line, so they're watching for fair and foul from the lines this way, right? So I know it's that. You know, and that's an issue, and it's one of the things that doesn't. Well, this is the one thing that doesn't happen in any of them. When a ref calls a penalty or a foul, it's never looked at. It's never looked at. Like, you're never going to see in the NHL or the NFL, you're never going to see, the flag goes for pass interference. You look at it and it really wasn't. You're not going to see that flag get picked up. Right? That what instant replay is doing is getting more procedural calls right, not judgmental calls. And that's what replay should be for, in my eyes, is procedural, not judgmental. Right? A procedural, puck over the line. Puck over, the offsides, right? Offsides, that. Icing. Icing doesn't even get looked at. In a lot of cases, icing should get looked at. Because I've seen a lot where they've blown icing when it wasn't an icing. Right? That's something that team should have to be able to argue with. And if it wasn't, they should get that face-off in the offensive zone, not all the way back in their zone when it wasn't an icing. So that's it. That's how I kind of look at it. Boy, this one took a interesting turn.
Well, I disagree slightly. I feel like if the icing is a missed call, it shouldn't be in the offensive zone. It should be in central, because it's not the other team's fault that the ref called the wrong thing. So it should just automatically go center ice.
However, I see what you're saying, but the the team that was the icing team, they didn't ice the puck. So they should have had an opportunity to get the puck in the offensive zone.
That is,
was
well, they
taken away
didn't,
from
though.
them.
They didn't. They shot it. Therefore, they should have an equal chance, and it should go to center because they did not get it into that offensive zone. They shot it down.
No.
That's
okay,
why center ice is neutral.
I know, but I think what you're missing, what I'm talking about, is when you have two guys racing down, if the offender is ahead, if the offender hits the face-off dot before the defender, icing is waved off. It's not icing. That's considered a pass. Well, there are a lot of times in the NHL where they blow that, and they still call icing when it shouldn't have been, and it's not looked at, and it goes all the way back to the defensive zone. Well, I think that that's something that they should. Oh, wow. Matthews gets his 50th.
Mm-hmm.
That change. Oh, wow, man. That dude. I think within the next. I think he could hit 70. I think he could be the next guy to hit 70.
I mean, they're saying, at least the Athletic anyways, that he is currently the best player in the NHL.
He's the best goal scorer in the NHL. Right? I would put that. It was an empty netter. It doesn't matter. That's the one thing. That's the one thing for me with Hull that everybody forgets. When Hull scored 86 goals, right? He had, and this number just mystifies me, 0 empty net goals. He would not take a shot at an empty netter. He would always pass. When Gretzky scored his 92, I think that number's right, 92, is that right,
That
Richard?
is right.
He scored 11 empty net goals, right? You give Hull 11 empty net goals, and he is at 97, right? 97. If Hull would have taken empty netters, he would have breached. He would have been on the precipice of 100 goals in a season, right? That is, and I think that doesn't get. Minnesota just scored, so it's 3-2. That doesn't get the credit that it looked at. Even though he's second in goals in a season, he really should be first. Because he scored more non-empty net goals in a season than anyone else. Right? Bob's disagreeing with me. Right? Why am I not shocked? Go ahead, Richard.
So, Matthews, technically, this is his first 50th goal season, but in the past 2 seasons, he had 47-70 before, obviously, the pandemic wiped the season down. He would have most definitely hit 50 that season, and since this past season, 41 and 52, so he would have had 60 if he continued. So no doubt he's the best goal scorer right now, but best player, that's out of proportion.
Yeah, that's a little different to me. Hitting a home run against a garbage time pitcher is a different scenario to me, right? Are sometimes actually more difficult because they think it's easy to score without a goalie, and they sometimes don't try as hard enough because no goalie in the net. Maybe, but you're talking when you talk the early 90s to mid 90s, you're talking some of the best talent the NHL ever had. Oh no, that's offsides. That's absolutely offsides. Some of the best talent the NHL ever had was from 90 to 97. Right? I think that I probably think if you look at that period from 90, maybe even 92 to 96, you look at how many Hall of Famers came out of that period and all of that. I just think that I just think that is by far and above the best. Oh wow. They just score again. I think they got the goal pulled and scored anyways. Oh yeah. So Minnesota got the goal pulled because it was offsides, and they turned around and scored. So it's 3-2. That was the most talent the NHL has ever had in any period, in my eyes. I think Richard might disagree with me there.
I just tried proving you wrong, and there might be an argument with the 80s with the Islanders and the Oilers, but I can't disagree with that. That's a very solid take.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I know what you're saying with the 80s, but when you look at what the league had in the 80s, first of all, the expansion hadn't hit yet. And that was one of the things, right? That second round of major expansion hadn't hit yet. But in the 80s, you had this, you really only had about 6 to 8 players, and they were all on Edmonton, right? I mean, you didn't have, it wasn't spread out. That talent wasn't spread out amongst the league. You really had 2 really good teams. You had the Islanders, you had the Oilers, right? That was it. I think they won. I want to say that they won 8 of the Stanley Cups in that period, and somebody else may have won 1.
The Canadians in 80 set some for Flames in 89 for Westwood, those 2.
Yeah. So with that being said, Jonathan Toews has his 1,000th game tonight. We talked about it a little earlier, Brian. Wendy's wearing probably his black jersey tonight. I think he's going to go to the game Sunday to see the Silver Stick. 66, 16, 99, the list goes on forever in that time period. Yeah. You look at what the NHL had in the mid 90s and you are early 90s, especially, right? You look at Hull, chasing down Gretzky. You get into that mid 90s, you have Lemieux. Lemieux came into the league in like 92, in that same time frame, because I think wasn't Lemieux on the team in 92 when Pittsburgh ended up winning their first cup. I want to say that. So you had Lemieux, you had Gretzky, you had Messier, you had Jari Kurri, Brett Hull, Adam Oates, and the list on and on and on. And it was all over, right? All over. Well, I thank you, George. I appreciate it. I've been wearing my military hats a little bit here. I'm usually not that guy, but after some recent things were said about me, I figured I needed to remind people that I am that guy. So, but I appreciate that, George. Thank you. So for me, that period, that early 90 to mid 90 period, I've just never seen the talent, and I don't think that we ever will see the talent again. And it's not that, because we've expanded or the game has changed a little bit and all of this. It's just that at that point, that's 100-year talent, right? You're not going to see that level of talent for 100 years. Like 100-year storm, that's what I think that level of talent was. That's 100-year level of talent in my eyes.
Well, what really showed me and saying the 90s is the best era talent-wise is the amount of good goalies in that era. Yeah, Brodeur, Patrick Roy still on top of his game, and Dominic Hasek in the middle of his net streak. What really showed me on agreeing with the 90s better than 80s.
Right. Well, not only that, you had the Russian Five. That is what this is. This is the period when hockey goes international, right? This is when Glasnost and Postryka come into effect. This is when hockey goes absolute bonkers and international, and you bring in the European skaters, the Russian skaters, the USSR skaters, not just Russian, but Czechoslovakia. And again, I'm naming countries that don't exist anymore, but when these guys came, those were countries that existed. You brought in guys from Czechoslovakia, from Yugoslavia, from Georgia, the different areas of the Soviet Union at that time start coming in, and they start elevating the play of everybody around them. And I honestly think that stuff that helped Toll, that stuff helped Gretzky, right? Because you look at Gretzky, he ended up going to the finals, I want to say in 93 or 94 with the Kings. I want to say 94. Wasn't it 94? Because that was the last time the Canadians won the Cup.
93,
right?
but then
93, yeah, 93. 92, 93, yeah. Kelly, you know, it's just that there was so much talent that entered the league at one time that you're not going to see that amount of talent enter the league again at one time, because now they come in, they're at 18. You just had this glut of talent just pop into the league, and it was everywhere. It was everywhere, and these guys could do everything. And you look at Yager. Yager was part of that, and he's still playing. He's 50. He's my age, and he's still playing freaking hockey at a high level. He's in the Czech league, and the Czech league is so you got the NHL, I'd say the KHL, and then the Czech league is just below the KHL, right? It's one of those European leagues that just sits just below. It's like a feeder league for the KHL, where the KHL is a feeder league for the NHL, right? So he's still playing hockey at a very high, at 50 years old. He's playing hockey at a very, he was just typing Yager. So no, and for me, that's the thing that I go on is I absolutely see some of that style of play, and you know, that's why when I look at today, I look at and what we got on this was Matthews scoring his 50th goal. Matthews is that guy to me. I know some people don't like him, and I get it, but when I see Matthews play, Matthews is that generational talent. I actually feel when it comes to just pure goal scoring, Matthews is better than McDavid.
I agree 100%. Matthews.
Now, McDavid. Go ahead, Ashley.
Matthews is somebody that actually does build the people around him too, and that's one of the things I like. Whereas McDavid is a one-man show; he doesn't make anyone better.
Yeah, and I've been saying that for a while. Tanner's here. He is seasonal or vintage. No, he's generational. Matthews is generational. I don't want to call him vintage because there's things he does that the guys then didn't do.
Yeah.
Right? First of all, I think about this. Matthews grew up in Arizona, right? He was born in California, grew up in Arizona. For me, it's not where you're born, it's where you grew up, right? Seasoned. Okay. It looked, the way it looked, it was a little hard for me to see there, Tanner.
Good point. We did miss out on Pavel Bure when we were listening.
No, we talked about him a little bit, right? Kolev, yeah, and Sandin, yeah. You know, those are all guys of that 90 group, right? Mm-hmm. Right? That's all those guys of that 90 group. And when you look at that, right? And to me, Matthews is that. Matthews is that generational player that comes along, and when you watch him play, first of all, the NHL is 104 years old. 104 years old. 104 seasons. Remember, at one time, they had 6 teams. 6 teams, and that was for 30 years, right, Rich? About 30 years that they only had the 6 teams?
About that, yeah.
Okay. It took 100 years for a rookie to score 4 goals in his first game. That right there, that in and above it itself. And he didn't score it during the live puck era, which was the 90s. That was the live, what you could call the live puck era, talking about, you know, the live ball with all the home runs. But this is when everybody was scoring. Now you have Matthews in somewhat of a dead puck era coming in here and just doing something that we haven't seen before. And when he scores a goal, it is pure joy. And the last player that I saw score goals with pure joy, and I mean absolute pure joy in every single goal he scored, and maybe I'm biased, but it was Brett Hull.
You're biased.
Maybe, but I'll ask Richard. Can you name? Is there another player you can think of that had pure joy in every goal he scored?
Ovechkin awfully seems happy whenever he scores.
Okay, Ovechkin, I'll get that. But I've also seen to me the difference with Ovechkin is for the most part the perception is he's a one-trick pony, right? I mean he's a power play guy. I mean that's where not now. A lot of his goals, not the majority of his goals, but a very large portion of his goals come from the power play. He wasn't the fastest. He wasn't, there were so many things about him that he just was able to score. Right. But I still think that I really do think that Matthews is more of a pure goal scorer than Ovechkin is. Right. Maybe I'm wrong. Teemu Selanne. Okay, that's actually a good one, right?
Bob's just being funny now.
Really? What did he say? Oh, Bob Basson. Well, what ended all of that to me was that unfortunate that we had just him, guy we lost, and Scott Stevens. Lou Amorello is. Okay, so if you want to know what happened there was an ownership group that told the other owners to go F yourself. Right? No. Shanahan and that group. So the owners did not want free agency. Right? They did not want free agency at all. So this is why the quote unquote, it wasn't even free agency. If you signed a free agent, you had to give up 5 first-round draft picks, right? That's ludicrous. That's not a free agency. That's a restricted free agency, right? But this is how free agency was. And the ownership group, and I can't think of his name now. It's sitting right on the tip of my tongue. I know he died a couple of years ago. But that ownership group that the Blues had at that, Mr. Shanahan, he wanted that cup. That's all that mattered to him. If I can sign Scott Stevens and get a cup, I'm going to sign Scott Stevens. If I can sign, who was it that we got from Philly? Or no, from New Jersey that blew this all up? Brendan Shanahan. To get me a cup, I'm going to sign Brendan Shanahan. He was basically telling the other owners, go F yourselves. Right? If this is how I need to make my team better, this is what I'm going to do. And they took it in the shorts for it. That's what that judgment came out with, where Scott Stevens ends up going to New Jersey and wins, 4 cups for New Jersey? Right?
3. I thought it was 3.
Yeah, it was either 3 or 4. Right? But imagine if he stays here. If Steven stays here, if we give up Cujo like we were supposed to, right? If we give up Cujo, imagine there was talk of the Blues being in on Brodeur early in his career. Imagine if if we give up Cujo, the Devils don't go in on Brodeur and we get Brodeur. Right? Guy, you're wrong. Many times he would smile. Paul was doing a job, not playing a game. I don't know about that, E. Again, I have to remember that I was in the service of that, so I didn't get to see all the games, but I mean all the video I've shown. He's just got an absolute, he's glowing in my eyes, right? Right. So to me, the things that went on then, and this was Bettman. This was all Bettman in '94, right? 92, 93, 94. This was all in that period. This is all Bettman. Now, I could sit there and chastise and lambaste Bettman for it happening, but the 94 strike, the thing that brought the salary cap, or the 04 is what brought the salary cap, but the things that were done eventually have gotten the league to a much better place. Right? And to me, it really has, you know, it is time for Bettman to retire, but I'm okay that he is still the commissioner in my eyes. I'm one of those guys that doesn't boo but Gary Bettman. Right? I didn't boo him at game 3 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Right? Yeah, that was a special team too. They do that. The NHL Network does that special on the 94 Rangers. I know they're going to do one on the 19 Blues, and I don't think they're going to wait 20 years to do it. That's one that I think you can see coming up here within the next couple of years, right? I know they have the Stanley Cup DVD. I have it. It was well done, but you could really that would be a very good documentary, or it would be a very good movie, an overall movie, something like Miracle, because of that, what happened, the way that season went down. There are just so many things that went down in that season. I just don't like the way he's just not stage friendly. I don't know, just annoying, and that he did. If you were a Blues fan or St. Louis hockey, then you can't complain either. He does. Well, I mean, yeah, there were things I used to say up until 19. I used to say that there was this memo, the secret memo that he had. This one's going to make Richard laugh. I know that Gary Bettman had a secret memo, and it was hidden away. And as soon as the Blues got into the playoffs, this memo popped up on his desk, and the memo said, "The St. Louis Blues will not win a Stanley Cup while I am commissioner." And then he would make sure that everybody kind of sort of saw that in the referees and everything else. You know, that was the joke I had. But when it comes down to it, it really, really is the league where it is today. I appreciate what Bettman has done. Right? And that's just, and then look, I know that he's made mistakes. Nobody's perfect. They're going to make mistakes. Right? Like everyone talks about, one of the things that everyone says was a mistake in the NHL, and I don't think it was the glow puck. Right? The glow puck was actually way, way, way ahead of its time. Right? That glow puck could have done so much for the NHL had it been marketed so much better. Fox Sports was new, that they were still new, and they wanted to be different. And I don't want to say cutting edge, they wanted to be different. And in being different, they tried to turn the NHL into a video game. Right? And because of that, it really did take away what the glow puck could have been. Now you look at what they have with the next gen stats and the way the puck, they don't show it enough in my eyes. I always thought one of the things that they should show is when the puck was up against the boards on this side of the camera to where the camera couldn't see the puck along the boards. That's when the puck should glow. So you can see where that puck is. Now they try and get the camera angle to change, but it would have been back then they didn't have those extra camera angles. Right? I know the glow puck could have been so much better if A, it was marketed better, and if B, the technology was just a little bit better.
The idea was okay, but I found it to be annoying myself, but
right. For me, it was, again, they tried to turn the game into a video game. NHL 94. Right? They took that right off of NHL 94 and tried to turn it in. Not only the other problem with the puck was it was so big and heavy, and the puck cost $400 a piece. right? It was a two-piece plastic puck, right? It was not like now the puck actually has an embedded microchip in it, right? So the weight of the puck doesn't change. The glow puck, that was the problem that the players had with it. It was heavier, or it felt heavier, and it felt bigger, and it was harder to control. Right? That was one of the big issues with it. Again, it was a great idea, poor execution.
I gotta go. I got a crying kid. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. Sorry, we're talking long. I mean, I got Rich here. You know, I haven't had Rich on for
you're good.
For a couple
Just
of months,
chat
so
away, boys.
I gotta go. So okay, Ashley, have a great night. We'll talk to you later. Right? Robert says he agrees with E because he didn't like the glow puck. What did you think about the glow puck, Richard? Or were you too young for that?
I was too young for that.
Okay.
I'm still a kid.
Yeah. Smiled the first couple of years, but yes, he didn't last. Was young. I remember I liked the glow puck. Okay. The glow puck was definitely. Oh, he says he liked. I thought he said he didn't like the glow puck. No, I just think that the glow puck, it was poor execution. Right? I think now they've got something that works very well, but they don't use it enough. Right? I want to see them use it more. I like the next gen stats. I'd like to have more access to the next gen stats. Right? I know you're a stat guy. You would probably love to have more, like, part of the next gen stats. So this is really hard. I'd like to know when you know how well a guy plays on a certain line, right? The only way you can find that now is to go to moneypuck.com, right? You know, that should be an NHL.com thing. I shouldn't have to go make another website, money, to find something that should be free, you know, relatively available. You know what I'm saying? It should be free access.
There are some stats that should be shown on NHL.com that aren't, so I'm pretty upset about that too.
And NHL.com should have complete. Now, even so, I have access to the. Will the NHL have a Canadian team in the final or win the cup? Biggest issue is the lack of national rivalry that draws casual fans. Nathan, that's a good point. Right now, I honestly don't think that a Canadian team will make the finals this season. Right? Well, I mean, let's break it down. Let's break them down. We'll go from the bottom. You have Montreal already eliminated. Okay.
Ottawa.
Ottawa is a very interesting team right now, right? You don't have. I remember Colin Cowherd. He used to say this all the time on his show. You don't have to be good. You don't have to be bad. Just be interesting.
Mm.
The Ottawa Senators right now, with the loss of their owner, Mr. Melnick, have become very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there you go, bud. Right? Yeah, she likes your light socket hair. But they're very interesting, but they're not going to be in the playoffs, right? From there,
Winnipeg is in dead man's land for not making the playoffs, but for not bad enough to rebuild, so they're hopeless.
They're who were you talking about?
Winnipeg. They are close to a playoff spot, but they're not going to get in, and they're too good to rebuild, so they need to make changes quickly.
I said at the beginning of the season that they were lying way too much on Connor Hellebuck. That was going to be their Achilles heel. I put him one spot. I put him 7th in the Central. Damn it, Minnesota just tied that game up. I put him at 7th in the Central, and I thought Chicago would be a little bit better, but Chicago's dropped to 7th, and they're 6th, but they're not getting any higher than that. That not only that, you have Vancouver. Vancouver has a long road to hoe. I don't see Vancouver making the playoffs, right?
No, too deep into the hole to make it.
Yeah. So of the 7 teams, you have 3 that are going to make the playoffs. Toronto, Calgary, and most likely Edmonton. Now, Edmonton could still miss the playoffs should something happen and Vegas get really hot, but I just don't see it. Now, you look at those teams. You look at, first of all, Calgary probably has the best chance of those 3 teams of reaching the finals.
They do.
They have the best chance of making the second round. Right? However, playing Dallas and or Nashville in the first round is not going to be a 5-game walkthrough. Right? It's going to go 6. It's going to go 7. Right? And so Calgary is not going to have an easy road to the second round. Edmonton, on the other hand, may have a little bit easier road. However, I like LA, and I like how LA matches up against Edmonton. And I also like the fact that Edmonton has the exact same first round bugaboo on them that Toronto has. Right? It doesn't matter what team it is. They've been out of the playoff bugaboo for them is absolutely Connor McDavid. Connor McDavid does not know how to play playoff hockey. Right? Connor McDavid thinks he has to do everything, and as long as he thinks he has to do everything, teams are going to key on him and they're going to beat him.
Well, I'm not going to disagree with you on that. I think Edmonton's main problem is how they'll build around McDavid. As if we take a look, for forward depth, it's not impressive. You have McDavid, you have Draisaitl, you have Nugent Hopkins, Puljujarvi, Yamamoto, and then it drops down hard. If you have worse forward depth in Winnipeg, and that's included McDavid and Draisaitl. Winnipeg, before the trade deadline, they had a solid group of forwards. Edmonton needs to get better goaltending, better forward up, and the defense needs to improve slightly before I consider them a cup contender, which I don't see happening under Ken Holland.
Yeah, no, you're talking just to make sure, because sometimes I have trouble hearing you, right, bud? And that's not you; it's my ears, right? You're talking about Edmonton, right?
Yes.
Okay. No, I just Edmonton's got some, and Calgary. I know it. They are goal stingy. However, I just think that both Dallas and Nashville could really, really give it to them, right? Dallas has got Dallas has got Holtby, right? Still got Holtby. You got a Stanley Cup winning goaltender in that. Saros is the definition of when all those around you are losing their mind, but you're not, then you don't understand the situation. I think that's Saros, right? I think Saros doesn't have. He got a little bit of playoff experience last year. I just don't think he's got solid playoff experience this year, right? He needs another year or two before he gets that. However, you have Binnington, who had no playoff experience and wins 16 games. He also lost 10, which everyone forgets it was tied the rookie record. Big shots, win faceoffs. No, I get what you're saying. Calgary, if you want to know why I don't think Calgary wins the cup, is Colorado. Right? And I don't think Colorado wins the cup either. Right? I think that Colorado is going to have, that's a 7-game series. That's not a walkthrough series. And that's even if Colorado can get past the second round. Right? If you're Colorado and you're facing either St. Louis or Minnesota in that second round, which is more than likely what's going to happen, you're facing teams that will do anything they can to knock you off that podium. right? St. Louis has a score to settle with you after last season's playoffs. Minnesota feels like they have a score to settle with you. I don't care how good you are. Look at the Russian Five. The first time that they went in, they won 60 games and got knocked out of the playoffs. In the I think it was Colorado that knocked them out of the playoffs because they had that matchup with the Blues, right? The 7-game double overtime that just knocked in. You know, they had nothing left. I think you're going to see that. I think that could be an issue for
Well, I think Calgary's biggest problem is they're constantly inconsistent. They're either good or bad most years. This season, they've been constantly good. I think they get past the first round pretty easily. I think they face Nashville and get out in 6 games in a tough but not overly challenging series. And I think they get rid of Edmonton in 5 games. But that Colorado series is going to take as much guts as they can, and I just don't see how they can keep running hard before turning cold against Colorado.
Yeah, well, I just don't see that. I also see what about I think that they would have a tough time against both Minnesota and St. Louis because now you got goaltending, right? You got 2 teams with pretty decent goaltending, right? You have Cam Talbot and Fleury, a Stanley Cup winner, in a multiple Stanley Cup winner in Minnesota, and then you've got Bennington. Yes, I know he's had his troubles, but he's still got that experience. He's still got a cup, and you have Husso, who, while guys might be figuring him out, might know how to step his game up. He's at that 26-year-old mark where goalies start to fill out and get their rhythm and get their that's when they mature. Mm-hmm. So even there, if one of those 2 teams beats Colorado, they're going to give Calgary all they can ask for. And then you look at Toronto on the other end. Toronto is going to end up with what? Tampa Bay, right? More than likely. Yeah. Tampa Bay or Florida. Take your pick. Mm-hmm. That's not going to be an easy round. However, what we are seeing is the Canadian teams getting better. Getting better. I like what the Canadian teams are doing. They still have issues. The money, the taxes, that is something that the Canadian government needs to work on, right? And if you want to keep these kids at home, right, and keep these kids, your top kids on the best teams, you've got to come up with some way to make it to where it's not. If I'm going to get $8 million, let's just, for example, say I'm going to get $5 million either in Florida, I'm going to get $5 million in Calgary. Where are you going to go? There's no state tax in Florida. The U.S. tax is much less. My $5 million goes a lot farther, and I get more in Florida than I get in Canada. Right? That is absolutely something that needs to be addressed, right? And I get it. I know. I get that you're talking about 1%ers, giving them a break. It's not to me, it's not the 1%ers that are getting the break. You know who's getting the break? All those guys, all those hardworking blue collar people. All the guys with calluses on their hands that pay $350, $400 to go to a game for a family of 4. Because now they're getting to see the players that they should really see instead of guys that are forced to hear that are going to leave as soon as they can. No. Right? So that's why, to me, it's almost, and I hate the saying, it's almost a trickle-down effect that is a lot more than a trickle-down. Right? if you can bring that talent here by giving up a little bit of tax money, you're going to see more people go to games, and you're going to see better quality. You're going to see a cup in Canada, and until they fix that, you're not going to see a cup in Canada, right?
Mm.
I think last year with Montreal, I think you saw that Montreal had no business being in that final. Now they got hot, had a hot goalie who's now injured and did nothing for them, but that's what I think it is, And sorry, Nate, I don't mean to be not showing your stuff here, bud. We just got on a different tangent, so please forgive me. He thinks Pittsburgh and Carolina in the finals in the East. I don't think Pittsburgh gets. I don't think. Well, Pittsburgh and Carolina would be on the same side of the draw, wouldn't they?
Yeah, that's impossible for them to beat the Eastern Final.
Yeah, they'd be on the same side of the draw. They could only get in the second round. Yeah. Right. Yeah, so they couldn't do that. Matchups, the way I read it, need the Blues that they aren't there. They got to get another stage of the game, and we're not showing up as of yet. To me, Nate, I think that too many people are looking at now. Richard, I talk about this all the time, and I think you may agree with me on this. I never look at the surface of a game, right? I always look at the undersurface, the undercurrent of what's going on in the game, right? So I look at the Blues' recent struggles, and on the surface, I can say, oh, this is a team that's not playing well, that has issues, But when I look at the undercurrent, I go, wow, there's just a small little thing here or there that they could fix, and all that other stuff would go away, right? Everyone thinks that the Blues have this huge, humongous problem. I think it's teeny tiny. Mm-hmm. And I wish my buddy Golf King was here. The only thing the Blues need to fix is between the blue lines, right? You get better between the blue lines, and all that other stuff that you were concerned about goes away, right? You get better between the blue lines. You get better zone entries. You get better clears. You don't let another team come through the blue zone to the blue lines with speed, with passing, right? With pace that puts you on the heels. You fix that one small problem, and it is a small problem, right? You fix that one small problem, and you go from this team that's lost a few games to a team wins 6 or 7 in a row, right? And to me, so that's why I look at the surface of the game and go, this isn't what you guys think it is, right? You got to look at the undercurrent of a game, and every game has an undercurrent, right? Every single game has an undercurrent that will explain or make the surface look much different. Does that make sense to you, Rich?
No, it does. And what I like to compare, watched the Blues this season quite a bit, actually. For teams I compare the Blues most of is the 2016-17 Blues. By that, I mean, they are a talented group of players. They have potential, but I don't think they get there. I think they don't be stopped by a better team, in this case, Colorado. And I don't think they get any further than the second round. I think they have a talent to do something, but I don't feel they're that.
Again, so on the surface, I think you're absolutely right. Okay? But when you go to the undercurrent and you look at the other things that are there, first of all, the first thing you said, they have the talent. Right? That says a lot. There are people that think Colorado is so much better than St. Louis, talent-wise. I don't think that they're miles above St. Louis talent-wise. Right? I don't think they have a better defense than St. Louis does, be honest with you. I don't think they're a better puck control team. I don't think they cycle better than St. Louis. And I obviously don't think they have better goaltending than St. Louis does. They have better goal scorers. I admit that. They're better passers. I admit that. But when you take some of this other stuff and you put it around, St. Louis has the talent, like you said, to win that series. Why they're not putting it together is exactly what I'm talking about. They have an issue in the neutral zone that they haven't fixed. And it's so small. It's so small. Right? Justin Falk, don't go through the neutral zone by yourself anymore. When you get in the neutral zone, look for a pass. If you don't see the pass, pull the puck back. Because you going in alone, when no one else is moving with speed, doesn't do us any good. The puck comes right back the other way, and you're caught behind. There you go. That's one way right there. That's one thing I see consistently, right? I watched the game the other night. The Blues made three forward passes in 60 minutes within the neutral zone. You can't do that, right? You cannot do that. And I'm not talking about a pass where they pass through the neutral zone and the guy gets it in the offensive zone. You can't do that because that will make a mistake, right?
Yes, that cannot happen.
Right? No, and that's why you've got to make those passes in the teams that beat St. Louis beat them because they are better in the neutral zone. Mm-hmm. And again, if you fix that really small thing, right? Mm-hmm. You change that statement that you said earlier about them not getting it together. Because it's that small to me, right? Especially for professionals, right? I could get a minor league team or a beer league team not figuring that out, but professionals should figure it out. Mm. Get better in the neutral zone, and 80% of your goals come through the neutral zone, right? 80% of your goals come through the neutral zone, and that's where I'm at. 5 men back, like Maroon used to say. I think losing him was crucial. Look at back at my Facebook, I said that when he was coming out, how great he was going to be. No, I do think losing him was huge. I think that we lost some of that character. And I also think that we lost some of that character in trading Sundqvist away. Right? I like Maroon, but Maroon's elevated his game in Tampa. I'll admit that. But again, it comes down to that neutral zone. You've got to be better in the neutral zone. You have to understand what that third of the ice, and it's really not even a third, it's less than a third of the ice really means, right? And that's one thing I thought that the NHL should look at is expanding the neutral zone and taking away some of the offensive zone, right? To make it, completely one third. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I have to start heading now. I have to leave for washroom, but I want to leave on a big note. But winning a cup is a very hard thing to do, and it takes a special team to win it. If St. Louis was set together, they could do it, but I don't know if they can or not this season.
Yeah, no problem, man. And I appreciate you coming on. I'm gonna end it here very, very shortly. We got the game tomorrow against Edmonton. Usually, I might have a special guest tomorrow. I don't want to go into who he is yet, but he's a writer for Full Press Hockey. He may come on tomorrow. Watch the show, Richard, if you can, and if we got room for you, we'll bump you in. How's that sound?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, Richard. Thanks for showing up. We love you, man. Anytime. You're always welcome. So, hey, guys, this is Guy, the Hawaii Blues fan, for Ashley Slapshot Jones and the Blue Note Fan Report, and today the Hockey Fan Report, telling you all aloha and mahalo. And we'll see you tomorrow night on the Blue Note Fan Report as the Blues take on Connor McDavid and the Edmonton Oilers. Aloha.